During the Cold War in the 1950s, Soviet Union was in a nuclear race with the United States. In order to supply the nuclear power plants and weapons, they needed uranium. They continued to search for this natural resource throughout the whole Soviet Union. And these areas were usually in the mountainous regions. So they had to bring people and build infrastructure for them. And one of these towns was Krasnogorsk. However, these towns were close to the public, located here in Central Asia, 1 hour away from the capital city of Uzbekistan. Now, all these towns are open. We're going to explore whatever the Soviet history that is left of it and maybe meet the locals and get a sense of what it was like before. Поехали! Здравствуйте. Это когда город построен был?
Так, хочешь, я тебе сейчас расскажу все. Потому что я родилась в 62-м, уже у нас была и улица Шахтерская, и все. Да, а где-то в 58-м году уже начал строиться вот этот поселок.
В 56-м, 58-м.
Да.
И поселок был закрыт для остальных, да? Если только родственники?
Закрытого типа. Родственники только по приглашению, все.
Там давали пропуска, и везде все было. Обеспечение было, вот торговое.
Московское было обеспечение. Чтобы шахтеры могли за свои заработанные деньги нормальные питаться и одеваться, чтобы не скупали там.
Пришел в магазин, мясо. Сколько?
Рубль 80 у нас была говядина.
Это дорого на то время? Или
нет, это нормально, доступно было.
А зарплаты какие были?
Зарплаты были, сейчас я тебе скажу. Уборщицы у нас получали около 100 рублей, шахтеры 300 с лишним.
А вот после 90-х почему закрылись вот эти все рудники?
То, что в Узбекистан столько уже выработки не нужно было, все по Советскому Союзу уже расходилось.
Все, уезжали семьями.
И вот у нас в
Немцы,
основном все
крымские
вымирают,
татары,
каракалпаки,
казанские татары, потом русские. В основном здесь жили.
Во время Союза тут было лучше?
Намного.
Да. Как вас зовут? Паша. Очень приятно. Как вас зовут?
Тетя Лена.
Тетя Лена. Очень приятно. What an interaction that was. Very interesting stories from the past, how people used to live here. Especially back then, this town consisted of mostly Russians, Germans, and Ukrainians. But nowadays, it's the opposite. It consists of the local population, the Uzbek, the Tajik. The town was founded in 1953. During that time, Stalin was alive. However, in 1954, he dies and Khrushchev comes to power. And you can see here, it's sort of a mixture of the Stalinist era houses. There are only 2 to 4 floors. They're constructed out of brick instead of the panel houses during the Khrushchev era. These towns were supported directly from Moscow, so they had lots of money. They operated separately from the actual country that they're located in, like Uzbekistan. The villages nearby were quite jealous because these towns had everything. They had schools, fire stations, house of culture, sport complexes, and so on and so forth. Guys, we reached a statue that is dedicated to Fyodor Poletaev. He was a Soviet war hero, but not only Soviet, also Italian. Because during World War II, he served in the Soviet army and he was captured 3 times. And the 3rd time when he was captured, he was moved to Italy, in Genoa. With the help of the Italian communists, he managed to escape. And he joined the Italian resistance movement, and this is the reason why he's considered the hero. Because in 1945, during an offensive by the Germans, he stood up along with his company to protect the village. And that's when he was shot through the throat. From then on, he is remembered in Italy as the hero to fight the fascists, and also in USSR. As you can see, the construction of the houses here is really different. There are 2 floors, they have chimneys at the top. They don't have balconies on this side, probably on the facade side. Some people say it looks German because the population consisted of a small percentage of Germans. I don't know how it was in Germany before 1945, but I definitely haven't seen houses that look like this in Germany today. Look, you can check out the doors that were built in the Soviet times. The staircases. Everything is kept intact pretty much. These type of houses definitely look much better and they provide a cozy feeling of like a small, very beautiful town. And I can see why the neighboring villages were quite jealous. We've reached the House of Culture, and unfortunately it's under construction, so we're witnessing when the Soviet architecture is disappearing in front of our eyes and is becoming modern. Even though they will keep the frame of the building, but it's definitely changing, and we're not going to have this feeling that we're in a post-Soviet country. And the House of Culture served as the place for the public meetings, most likely events of various kinds. Besides the two House of Cultures, they have 5 schools here, which is quite a lot for a population of 12,000. At least everybody is going to be literate. Ваша машина? Как называется? Какого года?
77-й.
77-й? Да. Классная машина. На газе, да, ездит?
Да, на газе.
Вы прям ее сохранили, да? Краска такая красивая. There are definitely a lot of Soviet cars here. Everywhere outside of Tashkent, you can see all these historic cars. They look so cool. It's like a museum in the open. We found something abandoned from the past. A former garment factory. And it's definitely being used right now as a storage facility. Now we found some Soviet art. Check this out. Some painting of a lady, and it says 1975. That's most likely when the building was constructed. And look how beautiful it is. It has like a pink design to it, some carvings. If I walk these streets back in the days before 1991 with a camera, which is quite impossible because cameras were large, speaking English, I would definitely be stopped immediately by the KGB. I would be considered a spy. Nowadays, it's open, it's allowed, there's no mine shafts anymore, so I have nothing to worry about. We're going to take a taxi to the mines.
Akram.
Akram, okay.
Сейчас что будем? Сначала заправляемся, да?
Вы не переезжали в какой-то другой город жить? Всегда тут жили всю жизнь?
Всегда, всю жизнь.
А почему не уехали? Тут же мало что делать.
Кто видит? Вопрос, да.
Не знаю.
Там что делаем? Мы здесь родились, здесь привыкли.
Возможностей мало тут, работы мало.
Работа раньше была. Когда вот рудник работал,
Да.
четкий был.
Но сейчас же не работает.
Сейчас закрыли.
И сейчас где работать?
Сейчас нигде пока. Стрельничаем, такси.
Горячая вода как поступает в дом?
Горячей воды сейчас нет. Котельной нет, как будет.
А вот зимой как делать горячую воду?
Газ, газ.
Ага.
Вот это.
Нагреваешь кастрюлю и потом купаешься. We reached the former mine shafts where they used to extract uranium. Let's go inside and see what's left of it. The taxi driver was born here and he's telling me over here this was the main building and now it's all rocks. Only because of these mine shafts was the town so closed and secretive. One of my friends told me that here you will find piles of rocks that are filled with radiation. And after listening to that story, I began to research more. And what I found out is that all the shafts that contain uranium are now filled up with water and rocks. Therefore, that story is false. After the fall of USSR in 1991, the republics became independent countries. And then all these resources that were left to these independent new countries were pretty much useless. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't have any infrastructure, nor the operations, nor the knowledge. And that's the reason why these mines shut down. This is the same story that happened in the West. For example, in Detroit, the automotive industry was flourishing, the cities were built, and then slowly but surely, when China began to rise up, they took over all the industry, and Detroit became a sort of a ghost town.
Даже кусок не остался, смотри.
Там буря, да, какая-то? Welcome to the Soviet bus station. This was the main terminal for Krasnogorsk, and now it's abandoned, as you can see. Also here was another boiler room number 3. The taxi driver told me that from Tashkent to Krasnogorsk there would be multiple buses a day that would depart and arrive to here. And also to the mine shafts, there were specific buses organized by the companies. This is the sad story of a Soviet mining town. Luckily it didn't turn to a ghost town. However, the young people believe that the fluorite mines will reopen and there will be jobs again and so on and so forth. But the old people say that's just hopes. Thanks for coming on this Soviet journey with me, and we will be back in 2 weeks. See you until next episode.